We are live. Welcome back to
Let's
another
go, fellas.
hop-in episode of the Mecca of Banter podcast. I'm here. Yeah, bro. Get the soundboard in.
I actually need to order one. I'm not kidding.
We have a firecracker of an episode tonight. We're going to get into our weekly segment of our weekly recap, as well as some fun topics that happened throughout the last couple of days in the sporting world. Some really, really big things. But before we jump into all of that, I'm Henry Wind. You can find me on Twitter at Henry Wind. It is a great day to be a Manchester United fan. I will say that loud and clear. Hoof, I'm going over to you, bro. What's up?
I'm with you. It's a great day. It's a great day.
Food's energy's just completely changed.
Look, man, that's how it goes. You got to take the ones that you can get. And this one was so big. At Young Yit on Twitter. I've been not as active, but you know, the jokes come and go. Doing well.
Good, man. We've been so stoked for you all the last 48 hours. I think that all of us have like vicariously lived through you in that victory. We'll get to you in a second with that game. But Dobes, brother, we're gonna keep the good vibes rolling before we get to the other three. So how you doing today? What's up?
It's a fantastic weekend. Arsenal dropped points, Liverpool dropped points, Chelsea dropped points. Can't ask for much more. It's your boy Dobes at CDobes10. As Hen said, another great day to be a Manchester United fan. Happy to be here, fellas.
I'm happy to have you, brother. Coach Butchie man. How you doing, brother?
Fellas, how we doing, man? You know, I'm chilling. I'm just glad to be back. I know I've missed a few episodes recently being busy with my coaching duties. So I am happy to be here. And I'm absolutely excited to discuss the topics tonight. I hope you guys don't roast me too much. You know, I'm honestly like, my self-esteem is gone. You know, like Liverpool's shite.
I'm surprised you're here, man. I'm happy you're here, but I'm actually very surprised that you made it tonight.
Yeah.
You know, I'm happy I'm here too, man. And you know, Dobes saw me at the gym about an hour and a half ago, and I was over there lifting 30 pounds more than my normal weight because I was thinking about how shite our season has been as I was lifting those weights and doing those curls.
That's funny.
You know, just some 40-pound squats. Nothing like it, man. 40-pound squats.
Yeah, you know. But yeah, I'm good. You know, it's great to be here, man.
It's good to have you, my brother. And for our YouTube watchers, you're in for a treat tonight. Mr. Butchart got a new computer. He's looking fine as can be on the screen.
Whoa, thank you, sir.
Whoa. Nikki Hayflinger, what's up with you, bro?
How we doing, boys? Clocking in. Another week as a Chelsea fan. I will say we did move up a spot in the table, so I'm pretty happy with that. We jumped to 9 over Liverpool. Liverpool is now 10th, so that makes me somewhat smile.
You say another week as a Chelsea fan, like you're going at it week to week, waiting to jump ship when they like do something really bad.
No, like I'm saying another week as a Chelsea fan, as in like another struggle through being a Chelsea fan right now in these hard times as where we're at. But I will say one bright star before we get into the recap was this man right here. So smiles here on this end.
Yeah. Well, happy to have you, brother. And lastly, the loser of the weekend, which feels
also not fully a loser.
The loser of the weekend, like I said,
everyone, the loser,
Mr. Arsenal himself, Lucas Winkleman. Check in, bro. How are you?
You got Dyche.
You got Dyche.
What's up, gents? At LCW21 on Twitter. Yeah, obviously sucked dropping points this weekend, but thanks to my Spurs brother, they helped City drop points too. So it's I still feel good.
You know,
but we'll obviously talk about that game.
We will. Fellas, it's great to see all of you. You know, we're going to go into our weekly recap. You know, every episode, we pretty much start off our episodes with going over the previous couple of games, and this week is no different. So if you look at the score lines across the board, very few goals this weekend from our teams. But you know what? For the teams that matter, they got it done, even with a low amount of goals. So
You know what?
we're
I think I'm already over Henry hosting because it's very very biased,
I
and
love it.
I don't know what you are
love
talking
it.
about.
I'm
Dubs.
shocked you love it, Dubs.
That
was unexpected.
We're going to start off with the 0-0 draw between Chelsea and the I'm not scared of Fulham, Full America soccer team. So Nick Hayflinger, 0-0, bright spot, as you mentioned, Enzo Fernandez, not only with the start, but played very well. But obviously all of your money spent couldn't get a goal. Talk us through that game, man.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same thing we've been talking about with Chelsea of late. A lot of boring play in the final third. And I will admit something that I've been denying from you guys for a very long time. You guys might be shocked by this, but I think this
Mount
man
shit.
behind me kind of proved you guys right. Mason Mount and Kai Havertz are nowhere near his level. And I think
Right.
he showed that on the field last game.
This is a big day. I'm so
It's a
proud of you,
big
bro.
day.
I'm being
proud.
serious. I think they've lacked competition in those positions for a while, and they've gotten away with being subpar. And I think Enzo came in and brought a light to our team and kind of showed like this is what a world-class midfielder should be. And I think Mason and Kai need to have a big reality check. And I'm happy with all the new talent that we have coming in, because I think it's going to bring a lot of competition and hopefully light a fire, and hopefully one of them. Or otherwise, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. But as the game goes, I think Fulham is very good. And a take that I had earlier in the season/podcast was that we would easily be above them in the table. And I'm eating my words. They looked very good. Our St. Louis boy, Tim Ream, put on a masterclass. He is aging like fine wine. He can also play goalie, apparently. So that's sick. But yeah, nothing in the final third for me, seems creative. I think we're very boring in the final third. So hopefully some of the new guys coming in with like Zhao, I'm hoping Zhao brings some electricity back into our lineup. I think Mudryk had an injury, and which is why it was like an illness or a sickness. He wasn't feeling so well, and which is why I was taking off at half.
Shit. Let's be honest. He was
Yeah,
dog shit.
I don't know, but I'm hoping his first performance is more like it, because like I said before, he had a little bit of creativity going into the final third, which is what I think we're missing. But besides that, I think credit to Fulham in this one.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a good shout. I know that we talk a lot of shit on Chelsea with the transfers, and they deserve it. I also want to echo that this is a big day for you as a Chelsea fan to kind of eat your words on this Mount and Havertz duo. I'll throw Gallagher in there. Yeah, I mean, we're all stoked for you, man, that you're kind of coming around and seeing rationally. But Gallagher,
let's all calm down a little bit. I still think they're world-class players, but they have just not been playing well.
The cat.
They have
Stop
not
the
been playing
fucking
well.
cat,
They have
bro.
not been playing
Stop
well.
the cat.
Stop.
dude,
They just have not been
World
playing well.
class.
world class.
You were throwing around that world class term like it's nothing.
nothing.
You're
Dude,
right. You're
like
right. I
it's
do.
nothing.
You're right. I do. I'm just saying they won a Champions League and they were a very pivotal part in that winning side. So like,
Sure.
So did
what do you think
Jorginho.
world class
Jorginho
is? Like the best team of the season, their best center mids. Like
Enzo Fernandez is world
yes,
class.
I agree.
Timo Werner was part of that Champions League winning
Hey,
squad in a big
you guys-
way, and he's not world class.
Jorginho had a Ballon d'Or shout. Remember, he's the closest player of any of them that got close to that. Like, hey.
The
I'm just
thing
saying,
is, man,
like you guys are. Let's bring it up then. Liverpool want to sign Mount now, so like clearly he's not complete dog shit. Like he has
hell we do.
qualities in it.
or that could mean he is dog shit.
No, like there's definitely qualities in both of them, but I just don't want you guys to sit here and continue to shit on them. They're not awful players, and they've won Chelsea a Champions League, so like we can't forget that.
I think it's incredible that we have said nothing worse than what you've said, but when you say it, it's totally
No,
fine. But when we just echo it back to you, it's the biggest deal in the world, bro.
No, because you guys say it with like being dicks about it. You know what you're doing.
Or we just
So-
know ball. Or we just know
okay.
ball.
And I don't. Fuck
Facts,
off.
bro.
Okay, so here's what I was going to say, and your point of like having these guys in to provide rotation, to provide competition is a great thing. We've seen it in all of our squads at different times. Guys rise up to the challenge when, I mean, like we'll get to there, but Sonny looked awesome against City, and he's looked like dog shit the whole season. Dan Juma gets signed, and all of a sudden Son decides that he wants to be the best left winger that Spurs have ever signed. So I think that that's great for Chelsea. What do you think happens with that midfield though? Like, it's not like you have like a super in-depth or super deep roster at that midfield position, whereas I kind of feel like with Mount, Gallagher, and maybe Havertz, depending on what they do with like João Felix and those guys, like I feel like that's your spine. That's just what it is.
And
do you feel like it's going to rotate quite a bit?
I think Enzo's thing is Enzo's proper position and what he plays for Argentina is an 8. Like he's an 8. He's a box to box
midfielder. Him and
midfielder.
Conte's gonna sit.
Yeah, but that's another, like, Conte hasn't played football in how long?
I know,
Like,
but he's still one of the best CDMs of our decade.
I agree with you. I just think it's kind of, you guys are in that situation where you don't have time to like let any more points drop. And I also think you have to give like so much shout to Paulinho. Like,
dude,
he absolutely dominated that game in the midfield. He was absolutely everywhere. I hadn't like sat there and watched Fulham play like a full 90 minutes. I mean, obviously I've watched Tim Ream, but like he arguably, besides Enzo, I mean, he was the man of the match, if I'm like not mistaken. And he was absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, he's great. He
was fantastic.
Locked down in that position. But you look across the board, and Fulham had a lot of guys that played incredibly well. Tite, I think that's how to pronounce his name. The right back played immense. He was great. Anthony Robinson played awesome per usual. Thought he was going to the City over the transfer window. Turns out that was a pretty good shout for him not to go. But Fulham just played really well. I think Chelsea's going to be a weird watch the rest of the season. And 0-0 is probably all you deserve in that game.
João changes a lot for me. Like João,
yeah,
João,
100%.
I'm also thinking we're going to hopefully put a lot of eggs in our basket with the Champions League and have some good performances there. And I'm hoping maybe we can do something there, make a good run. So
João is the 9. I think can completely change the way that you guys play, because he's so much of more of a like get in behind, make those runs, is to work. Kai, I truthfully, as a 9, I don't know what Kai is great at. Like,
I don't either.
Kind of a decent hold-up player, I guess.
Kai is someone
if I'm trying to look for something good
into the box,
yeah. Like if I'm trying to look for something good, like Kai can hold the ball up. But I think João can do that and adds that extra dimension of being able to get in behind and stretch the defenses. To right now, you guys are so one-dimensional. You're trying to get to the byline and serve the ball across to Kai and hope that he does something. And as we saw, he had some chances and just
one-dimensional is like the perfect word to describe us right now. And I think like that's what I kind of noticed with Mount and Kai specifically. The last game was like when Mason gets the ball and sees like where he wants the play to go, he is forcing it that way no matter what. There's no creativity. There's no like, oh, maybe I'll go back this way. Like I can predict where the ball is going when Mason Mount has the ball, because it's just kind of obvious. And that's where the play is naturally going, which when Enzo was in, there was moments when I was like, oh, I didn't see that pass. Like that was very good. He broke a line. Like that's something that we did not see. So I definitely think your one-dimensional shot is like spot on. And I think some of those new players we're bringing on, I don't think there's as much pressure on them as like Mount and Kai. Like I think they're so like, oh, we have to perform, that they're just kind of being one-dimensional, where these new guys are coming in with no pressure whatsoever and can kind of be free and creative. So that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. I think it's also a crazy thing that Ziyech started. And not so much that it was Ziyech, but the fact that he was in Paris 24 hours earlier, supposed to do a transfer. Chelsea messed it up, didn't send the proper paperwork, missed the deadline, and is all of a sudden in the starting lineup. I think that is like a crazy couple of days. And full shouts to him for seeing it through.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. And I'm happy you brought that up, because it's one part of like where I was not happy with Chelsea. Like, I think that's really messed up. I think shows great character from him that he literally was on a flight back to London, trained 2 times with us, and then was in the starting lineup and played his butt off. So like shouts to him. So appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah.
I would
Great
be
professional.
remiss real quick, just because Anthony's received so much hate. Mudryk was not injured. I just looked. He trained. He's healthy. He just got yanked at halftime.
No, he came out and said there was a sickness, is what I read.
Oh yeah, there's a
Yeah.
sickness. There's a
Like
sickness.
coming into the you could be right.
Then he forgot how to play football. Was his sickness?
That was from Potter, I'm pretty sure. That's just what I'm saying. You could be right. And to be
He
fair,
was-
I think he should have been too. I don't think he was playing that well.
Yeah.
We'll see if Chelsea bounces it around. But moving on to I don't want to say my favorite game of the weekend, but it's up there, fellas. A 1-0 win for bottom of the table or close to Everton over the shamble of a club that is Arsenal Football Club.
The shamble of a club. You're
Connor
right.
Sindobri,
You're right, Winks. The man's
uh,
on one.
I know.
You got
I'm gonna let him
Dyche.
have his
I
moment.
love it. Lucas, what happened, bro? I thought that this was the club that you were like not worried about whatsoever, that
It was.
the new manager bounce didn't matter. And even with the 4-4-2 playing it long, what happened?
You got
What
Dyche, bro.
happened?
What happened?
I'm surprised you didn't like post a TikTok of doing that to that game. That would have been a
I was
prime
going to.
opportunity for you, knowing the way that you're talking right now. Yeah, fell to Everton away via a Tarkowski second half header. Saliba got blocked out there, forcing Odegaard to have to cover that giant, and fairly easy header for him to convert on without Saliba next to him. Sean Dyche's first game in charge, new manager bounce was live, and it moved them out of relegation zone. Goodison Park was loud. I was out very late the night before playing in a soccer tournament and had to be up early for a game in the morning. So I watched the first half very closely, but was spotty watching the second half, traveling to the field. So tried to like rewatch a bunch of highlights from the second half. And as far as our team play, it was very underwhelming compared to what we're used to seeing all season. 70% possession, but we really didn't do much with it. They recorded like 15 shots, but I don't really think any of them were big chances from what I saw. I don't think Martinelli was utilized much, despite him being fairly out of form the last few matches. Odegaard was way more absent than usual. I think our standout player for me was Bukayo Saka. He had a great volley in the first half off corner kick that I think it was Connor Cody cleared off the line. Jorginho was mild and fairly disappointing, but I don't think that any of us were expecting a whole lot from him, especially in his first game. I'm more surprised that Arteta decided to bring him on as early as he did for Partey.
That was my thing. That was a very weird sub.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, and for Partey, I thought that was the weird part. And like, not to say like
He
your words
that,
by
I
any
don't
means,
I don't
but
think
like,
so.
you think that it was weird that he didn't sub for someone else? Like you thought that it was okay that it was for Partey?
No, I think that like his role as a backup to Partey on our team. I don't think
gotcha.
he's meant to be a sub for Granit Xhaka or for Martin Odegaard. I think that probably Pablo Vieira would come in for one of those two before Jorginho would. And as we know, looking at our roster, El Neni was specifically Thomas Partey's substitute, so he's a replacement for him. Thus, it makes sense that he's Partey's replacement, but nonetheless, very surprised that Arteta decided to bring him on that early, because I think that Partey brings a different dimension to our moving the ball forward that Jorginho doesn't, and so to take him out, that early, I think hurt us in that way. But I think one of the biggest missing pieces for me from the game wasn't a player specifically, but as much as we didn't really test their back line like we normally do, where I think that when we get to the wing, we talk a lot about comparing Arteta's playing style to Pep, having been under him in the past. And especially this season, we're seeing a big difference because when we get the ball wide to our wingers, we're very direct with it. We go at wing backs, we go at defenders, we try and move the back line as much as we can. And Nketiah has been very good at running in behind. We didn't do that this game. I think looking at the game as a whole, I think that Martinelli was targeted like one time and Saka was targeted like 6 or 7, whereas in the United game, they were targeting both of those guys all the time throughout the game. Odegaard specifically was targeting these guys throughout the game on the wing, and he didn't do that. We didn't do that as a team, and I think that hurt us because in those moments where we try and shift the ball to a wing, we were very slow to switch the side of the field, and it was very easy for the Everton back line to kind of shift together, and we just couldn't penetrate it in that way, and that showed in our inability to really get any big chances. So I don't know if that was due to Goodison Park being as loud as he was, or Sean Dyche just getting the best out of his team after making him run the beep test a few days before, or what it was. But yeah, we looked like a bit
Fucking
of a shadow
legend.
of ourselves.
Yeah, man. I hear you. And Butch, I'd actually be curious to hear your analysis of this game from Sean Dyche's perspective. But I'm kind of surprised that you didn't just come out on the pod and just say that you got outplayed. Like and not to no banter there. It's watching
tough.
the game. I mean,
It's
watching
tough
the game, you guys got beat to everything, every ball, every like cross, everything. Like it really looked like Everton came out to play and Arsenal just didn't. And, that happens sometimes, but Dobes mentioned this on Sunday, but it looked like the Arsenal of last year. Like it looked like the Arsenal that, has moments of greatness, but can't string together a game. It just really felt like a game that I was out of balance there.
Yeah.
Butchie, what are your thoughts, man?
No, I agree. I think it came down to the fact that everything that went right or could have gone right for Sean Dyche did. And I think it's just the analysis is really simple. Like they wanted it more and they executed his game plan. Like their game plan was to disrupt Arsenal's rhythm. Don't let them get into a quick rhythm. Don't let them transition quickly.
Boy, did they do
and they
that.
disrupted everything. And that's exactly what teams that play or Sean Dyche teams do, dude. They're fit as can be. There's a reason why they ran the beep test. They have the man, oh nana, ooh nana, oh nana. I mean, dude, they're just like they look so much better as a team in terms of like the fight and the spirit was so much higher. What a great decision to get Lampard out, because like this was a whole new Everton, and I hate Everton. I hate them. But
what is it about the new manager bounce that makes it a thing? Like, obviously there's like the idea of wanting to impress a manager, but it has to go deeper than that. Like we see it across like so many sports, and certainly in the Prem, like we see the new manager bounce happen so frequently. What is it about, like, just why does that work? Why is that a thing?
it's a great question. I think like I talked about, like it's hard to see a manager go, somebody you've gotten close with and formed a connection with, and you don't want to see them leave. But in the end, if you're a player, you kind of know what's best for the club, and you kind of know when the dressing room has been lost. It was definitely lost. Lampard lost the dressing room. It was over. So when the new coach comes in, you kind of get that new like feeling inside your body, inside your mind of like, this person's going to get something new out of me or get something more out of me that maybe the previous guy did not. And that gets you excited. That gets you like motivated to want to work and put in the time and sacrifice to improve your game, because you have somebody that, like you said, it's a fresh start. So they're going to come in and you have a clean slate with them. So you have
such a confidence thing. Like your confidence can start from fresh now. Like,
I'll pay.
As someone who lost their confidence in soccer, like I feel like that is so huge when a new manager comes in and you have that clean slate where you can just kind of have a new mindset. It's interesting though, because Henry, you brought up a good point, or Butch, you brought up a good point as well, is like if you do have like a good relationship with the coach and like seeing someone leave, like if you do have like good ties with them, like having to reprove yourself is another like remotivating thing that I think helps with that new manager kick.
You guys want to know something crazy? So at this tournament, in between games, we all sit there and hang out and have beers and chat and stuff. And so Saturday morning, while the games were going on, I ran into this guy that I hadn't seen in forever that I played against growing up, and we were talking about the Arsenal game. And he was like, "You want to know a crazy fact?" And I was like, "Yeah, hit me." He's like, I'm trying to get this right. Every time Everton has gotten a new manager in their club's history, that new manager won their first game. So they've never lost a first game after getting a new manager.
That's wild.
Had I known that, I may not have sprinkled Arsenal money line into several parlays Saturday morning, but I thought that was just crazy.
Several.
So it was interesting. Maupay, after the game, Rio Ferdinand was in the parking lot, and Rio pulled Maupay over and like asked him, was like, what changes? He's like, what changed within the dressing room? What changes? And he was like, first off, he credited Frank Lampard. He's like, everybody within the dressing room respects Frank Lampard, respects the player he was, respects the coach he was. Not necessarily said that he deserved more time, but like very much was keen on what he was bringing to the table. And what he described when Dyche came in was that even in professional football, your starting spot, your spot is not guaranteed. And as a professional footballer, all of these guys want to play. All these guys want to be in the 11. All these guys want to contribute. All of these guys want to make sure that they're living out their contracts, etc. And so, like we're kind of saying, he literally was like, the moment a new manager's in, you have to reprove yourself at every given moment. Your fitness level, how you are in the locker room, how you communicate with your teammates, every single aspect of that. Like
It's a new job interview.
It's literally a new job interview. It's, are you going to play or not? And so one of the funniest parts of that game for me is, if you saw when Everton scored, Sean Dyche didn't even like do anything. He didn't celebrate. He literally just like sat there, and then he was more animated when he was getting on Iwobi for not being in his defensive position. When Onana was too far up, he was yelling and screaming and getting at people. And when they scored, he just like turned around and shook his hand. Was like, all right, everybody, what do we do next? What's the next thing? And that's just the kind of manager that he is. And I think that like new manager bounce, you want one game. That's the guy you want in.
Yeah, to avoid relegation, Sean Dyche is that guy. Him and Big Sam, those are the two guys you want. Well, Winks, you have a tough battle next with Brentford. And then you have City. So 2 back-to-back hard games. So we'll see how you guys pull through for your title race. Bushy, I'll be honest with you.
I know.
I'll be honest with you, man.
I'm keeping it short, bro.
So am I. I have nothing else to say about this Liverpool side.
So do I.
Nothing else to
Awesome.
say.
Let's move on to United. So United played Palace today.
No, I want to hear the scoreline. Can you?
It was a 3-0 rout. Wolverhampton Wanderers against the Liverpool Football Club. 3-0. Butch, what the hell, man?
Dude, I've already said everything I need to say. I just can't stop laughing because I saw Dobes at the gym like an hour and a half ago, and he just smirked at me, goes, "Can't wait for tonight." And I was like, and I knew right away, I'm like, dude, I'm gonna get torched again, right? So, I'm gonna talk about a few players, and then we'll move on because we've already kind of said, Joe Gomez not good enough, Joel Matip declining, not good enough, Naby Keita get out, see you later. There's the door. You're not good enough. It's crazy that an 18-year-old Bacetic was one of our best players in a team full of stars. A kid that's played, let's look at here. He has played 12 games in his career, 12. And he was one of our best players. And that shows you the status of the club. There's a lot of underperforming players. There's a lot of superstars that are not living up to their price tag, and they need to figure it out, and they need to figure it out now, or we're going to be at the bottom half of the table, and sadly something might happen to Klopp, or you're just going to miss out on European football. That's it.
You know, it's not all doom and gloom. I will say this. As a neutral, you all are one game.
As a neutral.
Yeah.
You are anything but neutral today.
As a non-biased host of this podcast, I just have to say, you are one game away from a milestone, which is pretty cool. Are you aware of what the milestone is?
No, you're so
Here we go.
I don't want to do this today, bro.
You are one game away from having a secret agent join your team. James Bond, Mr. 007, Cody Gakpo, 7 games, 0 goals, 0 assists. That is a milestone, fellas. That will be the next game that you all have. And how does that feel, Butch?
I said it on the last podcast that I was on. Cody Gakpo has been in my opinion, a big flop. Not impressed, nowhere near the level of what we saw at the World Cup. So he better figure it out. Or guess what? See ya, bud. There's the door in the summer.
Do you like
catch
him or
the wave.
Nunez more?
Huh?
Do you like him or Nunez more?
Oh my God, Darwin, dude. Come on.
That was an
Dubs.
honest question. Like,
Dubs.
I'm shocked you answered it that quickly. Like it was.
Like
I thought it
Gakpo.
was a serious question.
Hey, Dobes, you guys can have Gakpo. You can have him.
I mean,
Oh,
under
he
10
don't
Hag,
want him
probably
anymore.
would
Yeah,
be
under
the
10
guy.
Hag, it'd be a baller.
But can I get your opinion on one thing with this Liverpool side though?
And then we're
what
moving on.
Yeah. What's up with Mo Salah, brother? From the outside looking in, like it's easy to talk shit saying that, he got a fatty contract and,
Mhm.
over the last couple of years was worth it. He was worth it. He played out of his mind, so consistent, got that massive contract, and just every game after that has just
He
been
learned
absent.
how to surf and rode that Liverpool wave. That's all I gotta say.
Bingo. So what's going on with Mo?
Well, I think you said it I'm looking at his stats right now. Like every year he's been at the club, he's been unbelievable. Like 32 goals. This is all Premier League. 32, 22,
Team's been
19,
unbelievable.
22, 23. What'd you say?
The team's been unbelievable as well in those time frames.
Yeah, bro, but Salah was a different level.
Yeah.
He was
Nick,
he
come
was
on.
he was
Nick,
disgusting.
more not
Nick,
hate
I don't
him.
even want to hear
Salah
it,
was
bro. You're over there
disgusting.
saying Kai Havertz
Yeah.
is the next resurrection of Lord Jesus.
I never said that. When have I ever said that?
But he won the
He's world
Champions
class,
League.
bro. He's world
He did.
class.
He
Okay,
won.
so
You're an
I
idiot.
don't know. Mo Salah he's been underperforming, man. 7 goals, 4 assists in 20 games in the Prem. So nowhere near what he's been doing the last 5 years. I also think Mo Salah, yes, he's world class. No doubt he's been world class, but I do think that the presence of Sadio Mane was such an influence because when you look at a player like Mane, he ticked every box that a striker wants to tick, and especially his pace, his ability to stretch the back line and make those inverted runs from out to in across the back line to get him behind. It was so deadly that it freed up more space for Salah. Right now, this whole season, we've had Diaz has been injured since October. Jota's been injured since October. Firmino's been injured for the last 2 months. We haven't had anybody besides Darwin, Oxlade-Chamberlain before Gakpo got here, and Mo Salah playing it on the front line. It's just not the same. It's not the same fluidity. So,
You just can't be that guy, bro.
bro,
Can't
he
be the
is
guy.
him, bro. He's been him. I'm just saying, like, I'm just giving credit to Mane because I think we should have never sold Mane. Mane was
That's
a
a
huge
shout.
part of our
That's
team.
a shout.
He was a
Huge
huge
shout.
part of our team. Like if you give me a choice to keep Mane or Firmino, come on, I'm keeping Mane.
Choice to keep Mane or Salah.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I would still keep Mo Salah. I would have still kept Mo, but you just got to look at the numbers. Like Mo, 173 goals in 285 games for Liverpool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like
crazy.
Harry Kane stuff.
He said, yeah, great play.
Move.
Great
I'm
play.
waiting for the I agree, but
I was looking. I'm with you.
He's still looking.
But yeah, no, Harry, that's a great question. Well, hopefully Mo can pick it up. We'll see.
We'll see. And I think, this next game for you all with Everton, obviously everything that we just said about Everton against Arsenal still rings true. It'll be two teams going at each other's throats. So we'll see how you all do. Connor Sindobri, 2-1 victory over Crystal Palace. Great to pull out a W after tying them in the way that we did a couple of weeks ago. Give us your thoughts on the game.
I said it before we played Palace the first time. Like, for whatever reason, Palace is just one of those teams that when they play us, it always seems to be more competitive than it should. And yes, I'll get to the Cassie red card in a minute, but first half, outstanding, cleared the pen. Like, Bruno scored 6 goal contributions in 6 games. We looked great in the first half. Like, the second goal we scored, the team goal, might be our goal of the season. Like, that was 10 Hag ball. Like, I've never seen it before. I think there were 7 players that touched that and were involved in that goal. I went back to front, all the way to the wide. Gakpo 1-2 with Fred, or excuse me, not Gakpo.
Oh,
I wish. Even better. Garnacho, ball into Fred, 1-2 to Fred, or 1-2 with Garnacho.
Wearing his
Garnacho,
CR7 underwear.
He knows.
Very true.
Garnacho out to Wan-Bissaka with Anthony combination, slipped it back into Cassie. Like, what a finish. Game became closer with the Cassie red. Now hear me out before you guys just freak out and say that, like, I completely agree with you that Cassie is very dumb for putting his hands where he put them. He had his shirt. You can, from any angle on any tackle that ever happens, if you were to freeze frame it, you could say it's a studs up tackle. You could say anything. I think the issue I have is not that he got a red. My issue is with VAR, because if VAR is going to go review the situation, you review one aspect of that whole entire situation. You freeze frame it. You show the angle where Cassie is holding his neck. Of course, you're going to give him a red card. Like 1000% with the angle that the referee saw, you're going to give him a red card. My issue with VAR is that VAR is meant to be quick. And in order to break down that entire situation, why not just take that entire situation to the end of the game? And if there's something that's bad enough, you have the ability to review that after the game and give cards afterwards. Because IU, it's happened multiple times, because IU did the exact same thing that Cassie did, but they didn't freeze frame it in that specific moment and show that. So that's my thing. And the interesting thing is, why not, like, if you look at 2 seconds after it happens and he has his shirt, they're hugging. Like, they're literally hugging. Like, in what way, if Cassie was strangling somebody, is he just going to be like, hey, I don't even care about you. Let me go yell at the referee. And so, like, I don't understand how in the entire situation, just the Cassie incident is looked at. The IU incident isn't looked at. Like, nothing else is looked at but that specific moment. And if you're going to freeze frame it, yeah, Cassie's going to get sent off. But why not freeze frame it for IU? Why not freeze frame it for the rest of the situation? And that's where the frustration came in for me, is how can VAR only do one aspect and not the other? Because that's where it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah,
Especially knowing that the refs are on your side too. It's
right.
Hey, but
did we
here's
miss
the
a
thing.
payment?
would
Like, what's the
think.
word?
But here's the thing. Like, that's the thing where people have come out and are starting to say that, like, yes, that offsides call against Arsenal probably wasn't an offsides. We got that call. So now all of a sudden it's like, it's a referee that's probably sitting, like, drinking a Coca-Cola and eating a cheeseburger saying, hey, wait a second, referee. Wait a second. You weren't going to call this, but wait a second. We're going to make sure that we come back and have you look at the one angle where it looks like Cassie's doing something fucked up. And that's where it pisses me off. It's like, he showed him the freeze frame of Cassie grabbing him and pulling him. And that was all that he showed on VAR. And that's what's frustrating, is because now we miss him for 3 games. Yes, it couldn't be a better 3 games that we miss him, with Leeds twice and Leicester. But at the same time, like, I think what's frustrating is we can't, like, appeal it, because if we appeal it and lose, it comes to a 4th game, which becomes the Carabao Cup final against Newcastle. So, like, it's kind of like a tough situation where I don't really know how else we can handle it, but just accept it.
Yeah, I think that's like the way that we have to go. We have to take it on the chin on that. And we can disagree all we want. I mean, it is funny, like, looking at the for our YouTube watchers, it's, behind me on my background is the actual incident itself.
Never reviewed.
Yeah, you can see Casemiro, like, with his hands on his shirt. But if, like, in this specific incident, if you don't know what's going on, you look like the main tussle's going on between Fred and IU. And then you could even look at Rashford holding the other player off and being like, what's he doing? Like, that it's away from the play, what's going on? And also, why is all this happening outside the field of play? It's just like, it's a weird thing to look at freeze frame by freeze frame. What's with the exhale, bro?
When are we're not ever gonna get a VAR that comes retroactively, bro? It's gonna happen in the game. It's got to change how that goes. Like, you can't ask for a retroactive VAR red. Like,
Well,
yes, you can get a
VAR
suspension
has
in some
flaws.
things.
Like, that's why VAR has flaws, because why
I
look at
wasn't-
Cassie but not look at IU?
I'm not arguing any of your points, because I think you're right on a lot of it, but you're spin zoning a lot of it too, to be,
Absolutely.
where
It's a
there's
red.
no,
He had his hands over his throat.
his hands
But
are on
so
his
did-
neck.
but so did
and it's
IU.
wrong.
Okay,
Yeah.
then he gets one too, but Cassie still deserves a red.
But he didn't
But
get
that's-
one. But that's
then
the
he
thing.
didn't
It's the
get one.
inconsistency.
He
It's
didn't
the
get one.
inconsistency.
And that's where I
It is
agree with you.
inconsistent. We can, that's a good word to.
I think
agree
the
on.
bigger point that came out of the Casemiro is Sabitzer made his debut in our most hectic 20 minutes that we've had the entire season and looked like a seasoned vet. Like, he came in and looked unbelievable. He came in, the 2 tackles that he made looked fantastic. And now we're
He's
going to have to
fun.
rely on him as a double pivot with Fred or however we decide to do it. But the fact that he came in that, I think we genuinely under Ale, under Ranić, under Jose even, we lose that game. Like we 1000% lose that game or tie that game. And the best part about it is for so long for United, we didn't have that like siege mentality of like player gets thrown into the boards. Every single person runs around to defend him. And you saw that in the last 20 minutes with how we defended. First off, Dyche has to be one of the top 2 or 3 center backs in the entire league. Probably the best performance I've seen from him post World Cup. And he's that Argentinian like personality, is the leader of that, like everybody together, everybody's moving forward. And that's just the culture that Ten Hag's built. And that's something we've been missing for a decade.
Yeah, I mean, he was incredible. Martinez was fantastic. Anthony also had a good game on both sides of the ball. We have come onto this podcast and we have talked about like our frustrations with how much he slows the game down. But man, his work rate defensively is fantastic. It is so good.
One of the things on Twitter that I saw was I think it was it Goldbridge? It might not have been Goldbridge, but it might have been a thread of Goldbridge. But someone was saying that like Anthony is at fault for this red. Like he like nonchalantly rainbowed a dude when he shouldn't have, and then it caused like a scuffle. So like I just wanted to kind of see your guys' point of view.
But what happens at Old Trafford, how it is it's down a hill. So what happens if Anthony gets pushed out of bounds and he hits his head on the wall?
Yeah.
Like, I think where Anthony's a pussy is he did go down, and immediately after he saw him go off the ref, he got up and went straight after the guy. I don't mind the coming together. Like, I love that. Like, if you look back at the Arsenal Vieira versus Keane days, they literally choked each other in a game, and neither of them got a card.
Yeah,
like
that's
a fact. Like, that's just that's
one
the
thing
old school prem.
One thing you did with this argument is that I thought you did really well and is so true is like VAR. Like VAR is so shit. And I think we all can agree on that. And it is very inconsistent. I completely 100% agree with you. So I give you props for that one because I think your take on that was spot on.
Everybody in the world knows that's a red if you show that one angle of Cassie. It's just if you're going to give him one, show the angle of IU and it's matching reds, or it's just don't give a card to either of them. Give a card to Anthony and the other dude, and let's move on. Like,
But can't have your hands around someone's throat though at any point.
No, that screenshot's gonna live forever because it's so funny. It's so funny.
It's like Darth Vader. But so I was mentioning that Anthony, his work rate, defensively is great. He's so frustrating when he loses the ball when it feels like he shouldn't. But I think about like Rashford last year, for example, and we all know he was miles off of it. But there are times that he would lose the ball and then just like walk. He would like stop and it wouldn't be there. Anthony, every time that kid loses the ball, he is on his horse getting back, putting in tackles and like putting the people under pressure, which I love to see. Sabitzer, like I'll also give him his shouts. But it is funny watching, Lindelof and Maguire coming on the field in the 88th minute, 87th minute to clear some headers. That's the role that they have, and that's what's happening. So we have Leeds, and Leicester coming up next, and I hope that it's 3 wins. It's what it should be, but we'll see with Leicester. With Leeds' new manager Bounce. We'll get to that a little bit later.
But I don't know about Chris Armas as the new manager Bounce.
The USA, what was it? New York Red Bulls. We know all about him with Manchester United, ladies and gentlemen. He was Ragnick's assistant. But on to the last and what I will call most exciting game of the weekend. We have Mr. Andy Hoover. Talking about Mr. Tottenham, Harry Kane and the Tottenham Hotspurs 1-0 victory over Manchester City. Lay it on us, Hoove.
Where do we start? What do you want me to hit on first? I'll hit on any of it.
Dude.
Players.
No. Hoove, you have to start. You have to start with Emerson Royale. You have to start with Emerson Royale, bro.
I signed the apology form. I signed it. All Spurs had to do was buy a world-class right wing back to replace him for him to show up and play a little bit to the worth that I guess we paid for him. So he was immense. and he looked good with the ball going forward. He was tracking back with the best of them. I mean, he had Grealish. Guy was pissed. Guy was just dragging his feet and
I've
trying
never
to
seen
get anything
Grealish
going.
complain more in a game.
Oh my
because
God,
of
the whole
Anderson.
complains a lot.
Yeah.
And he complains a lot, and that's fine, and that's who he is, and like that's how he's best sometimes is when he gets fouled, whatever.
Oh, he got $100 million.
Dude, and he was completely muted, not a part of the game at all. That was insane. I think Romero had a great game if he doesn't get that first yellow card. I think he's the defender. He's super consistent. He makes dumb fouls, but he makes incredible game-saving tackles. I think he provides really good cover for Dyer. Has the right side of the field feeling comfortable. I think there's a lot that comes out of a center back's play that's positive. He's an idiot. He's just a complete freak sometimes and does things he shouldn't do. But I love that. So, Harry, the all-time scoring leader in Spurs history, albeit with not a lot of other accolades, but that's something that's still an unbelievable deal. Like, I have no other frame of reference to Spurs before, whatever year I started watching, but I do remember having a conversation in the gym locker room when he scored in his first Europa League game and me being like, this kid's going to get washed out and we're not ever going to see him again. Like, he's a slow brick of a touch white English guy who has an English tax that they're going to pawn off to Blackpool in the championship. And I could not have been any more wrong at all. So it's been super dope being a Spurs fan for the entirety of his career. Like the goal he scored in the North London derby. Like, I watched all 327 goals today. And one of his first ones in White Hart Lane against Arsenal, the cross box one into the side netting, and he had the mask on and he runs like
gross.
Those are some core memories. Like, those are heavy, and like everyone that I know and see online are like, he's Mr. Tottenham. Like, Jimmy Greaves is the best player that they'd ever had, and the geezers will tell you all about him. But I think he's unbelievable, and like it's cool to be able to watch him. And I think the Spurs need to win an FA Cup to keep him, and then we're in dreamland. So, things went well. I think they played City well. It was a Conte special, and he wasn't on the sidelines.
I was going to say,
Conte special without Conte.
Yeah, Conte special from the hospital.
We talked about the new manager bounce, but like I feel like that was also a bounce as well for you guys. Like,
and that one for sure.
On the sidelines is like a motivate. Like, they wanted to like prove it for
him.
him.
They weren't losing a position, but they were motivated as a team. And there's videos of Harry getting a phone call from Conte immediately after walking into the dressing room, and he's like, "I am so proud of you. Like, you make me so proud. I'm so proud of the boys." Like, there's unity in the locker room. Everything else that's negative with Spurs almost always happens above what's actually happening to the players. So it's so dope to see these games because you don't get them all the time. Like, City could have scored a bunch. City had good opportunities. Hugo played well. But Spurs could have had 3. Like, it was a prime counterattacking, high press when you can. Hjorberg played well, and I trash talked him within the first 5 minutes of the game. So I'm willing to eat that one too. Sometimes he frustrates me, but sometimes he's immense. It's you guys all watched it too.
I know that FOTMob isn't everything and player ratings aren't everything. But just for reference, in the Chelsea Fulham game, Mark Cucurella registered a 7.7 on FOTMob, which is crazy. The man is not torched. Good. There's only 2 players in all of Spurs' starting 11 that registered higher than Mark Cucurella, who was dog shit, which was Højbjerg and Kane. And Spurs were great. Front to back, awesome. Like
Mhm.
Emerson Royale, truthfully, I mean, we started this segment with it, but he was incredible. It was a 7.6 rating. I was like, what could have the guy done more to, get a higher match rating? He was fantastic. Sonny had a 6.8 in the game, which he was great too. It's one of his better games of the season. So I think the ratings sometimes, are irrelevant, but Spurs definitely passed the eye test on that one.
Henry been playing too much pro clubs.
Dude, I'm
the
I'm
player
out here.
ratings.
But I mean, it is interesting though, like looking at it and
Absolutely.
just like disagreeing wholeheartedly with like what I'm seeing.
Oh, it's funny you brought that up because I mean I don't want to go back to the Chelsea game, but like I saw that when I looked at like the player ratings
Yeah.
after the game, and I like laughed, and I was like, because
Like,
he's one
how?
of the I think he's like if we look at it, he's like the highest of all 4 of our defenders, and I was like, what?
Yeah, it doesn't
There's
even
no
make
way.
sense.
He got
But-
burned
but-
like 8 times.
On the opposite side of everything that Spurs did well was City playing terribly. No fluidity, no anything. I thought that it was potentially an interesting shout. I didn't look into it too much. Maybe it was an injury or sickness, Nick. Maybe it was sickness. Kevin De Bruyne not in the starting lineup. We're just seeing some weird rotation from Pep right now, and I'm not really sure what's going on, but they just didn't have it. And that is taking nothing away from Spurs. I want to make that clear. Spurs played great, but we're seeing it again with City where they're just not it.
I mean, yeah, we mentioned last week that like this is the City team you want to play, and I shot a couple texts back and forth with our good pal Jacob Krupp, and I was like, "What's up with on-field stuff?" And he said, it's weird having Haaland up top right now and Pep figuring out a way to get him to be on the field. He's like, he has to be on the field, but he also has to play Alvarez, who deserves to be on the field. He's like, he's making these weird rotations with key players in Gundogan, Bernardo, and KDB. And he's like, the Cancelo loan transfer was weird. Like, he wasn't happy prior to this. He's like, the rotation is weird. Like those are all good shots. Every one of those guys have been in and out of a really, really, really good side, and it's not clicking. Like,
I heard a City fan on a podcast. The club. I've been
you listened to the
a bunch. I've been listening to it, and he said that he firmly believes that if they kept Gabby Jesus and played Gabby Jesus on the right side and played Phil Foden as a 9 or false 9, that they not only would be clear at the top of the table, but they probably don't have a loss right now. And I firmly believe that, just because they didn't have anything to change. Like, they didn't have anything that, like, they literally didn't have anything to change after the season that they had last year, except for maybe play better in the Champions League. And so, like, we've said it a million different times, like the Haaland thing, they're still trying to like adjust. But what's weird to me is, like, I don't know what it is about like Tottenham, like Hotspur Stadium, like Spurs, the last 5 times City have been there, Spurs have beaten them, and City hasn't scored a single goal. So like, as much as like it's just this year, like this goes back of City going there and not being able to get a result. So I don't want to take credit away from Spurs at all, because like that, it was a Conte thing. Like, City had the possession. You expected City to have the possession. The whole game, in my opinion, Spurs were the more dangerous team. Like 1000% were the more dangerous team.
It's cool. It's nice to like see the plan that everyone knows is in place go the exact way that you want it to. Like,
I think City's a great team for that plan, though. So like, I think that's why it works so well in your guys' favor.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does. But it's been all of the last managers we've had. Jose beat him. Nuno beat him first game of the year, 1-0 on a sunny goal. Like, shut up. No, that shouldn't happen. I did shout out in our group that the stadium was electric.
Yeah, it was
like
nuts.
That atmosphere was insane. No one asked for that stadium, but it's here, so you might as well just fucking pack it out and make it jump. So it's the City side that we wanted to see. It's the City side that you want. And I think my favorite part about all of it is like all of the fanfare around Harry Kane too. They were back in the dressing room, and they weren't playing music and dancing around. It was like vibes were high, daps all around. Harry Kane had a picture, but it was like, that was business. Like, that was what's next. There was a community of dudes who were looking forward, like great result, happy to get it. But no one, don't have the small club attitude, and they didn't. So
Mhm.
that was dope. It was a unity kind of thing. Great to see as a Spurs fan, because sometimes you don't, and you don't forget some of those. So
Did
that's all I got.
Spurs a point off fourth and 3 off a
Yeah.
third, like very much in this top 4 race.
You
Oh,
can
yeah.
put a Band-Aid on this whole team. You can put a Band-Aid on a lot of past misfires. If you finish top 4 and win like an FA Cup trophy,
Yep.
like,
Yep.
not to say everything's forgotten, but that would be really cool. I'm
Absolutely.
not sitting here telling you guys that we're clear favorites to do anything, but you take these games as you get them. That's
I
all.
love whose attitude.
The go ahead, Butch.
I was just gonna say, like, I want to give one piece of like props to Spurs, as much as that pains me. Hoove, your club has a big win, and you're a fantastic bloke. So I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt by saying Rodrigo Bentancur is him, bro. He's him. I would literally write a blank check if he could play at Anfield. I swear to God, I'd say give me him right now. Here's 80 million. Give him to me right now. He is unbelievable.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
I could agree more. No, I'm with you, and I think he's growing into being on the team and fitting with the guys around him. And dude, with Uruguay, like, he was the best player on their side the 2.5 games that they played
By
until he got
far.
injured.
Yeah,
by
by
far. So I think that, sometimes class transcends through whichever team that you're playing in. He's one of those guys that he'll find a system that he fits in. He's gonna play great.
What a great pickup, man. Like, Conte's amazing business. That's what I wanted to say. Like, that was amazing business by your club to get him and Kulusevski.
Yep, those
huge.
huge.
Unbelievable.
Could they maybe be muddled in some financial fair play issues with Juventus? Potentially. But
not as of now, though. Not as
not
of
as
now.
of now.
Yeah.
We still have a sporting
Chill,
director.
chill,
We're good.
chill.
We're good. This season's gonna count.
Well, I think, Connor said it this morning, but it's amazing what a win can do for your weekend. So the rest of you all, maybe you'll join us next session with a win, but for the 3 of us, it feels pretty great. So to our listeners, thank you for listening to our weekly recap of the games, brought to you by our fictional sponsor today of EA Sports FIFA 23 Pro Clubs. They don't sponsor us, but wouldn't it be cool if they did? So
Hootie hoo.
Hootie hoo, shout out to them. Moving right along to the big topic of discussion of the new week, even though it's only Monday, it's still a huge bomb drop this morning of Manchester City being found guilty of over 100 breaches of financial fair play over the last 8 years. That is a 4-year-long investigation, all coming to light this morning. To kick us off on this discussion, Connor Sindobri, what do you have for us?
So I'll give a quick breakdown of like sort of the situation as we know it, like today. And then super interested to sort of let you all give your takes on like what you guys think about it. And then I'll be happy to give mine at the end. But for those that are listening that like don't really understand financial fair play, like I'll just do a brief synopsis of kind of what's going on. So first off, it's like Manchester City have been charged with financial play rules. It's exactly 105 breaches that they're being charged with over a 9-year period. It started in 2009 and goes all the way to 2018. So like financial fair play, essentially think it's designed to ensure clubs pretty much spend what they earn. You get around that by potentially like inflating how much you're earning, hiding how much you're spending, which is what City's accused of. Like according to the Premier League, Man City allegedly broke this rule over 9 seasons and haven't allegedly provided accurate financial information. They also allegedly did not fully disclose financial payments that were made to one of their managers, as we now know it's Mancini, over a 4-year period. The Premier League also alleges that Man City didn't comply with UEFA's financial fair play rules over a 5-year period. They also allege that Man City have not fully cooperated with the Premier League's investigation. Now, I looked at sort of something else to kind of break these down into groups. I listened to something great by Matt Slater from The Athletic. He's their senior football news reporter. And so specifically these 105 allegations can be broken out into 4 groups. So the first group relates to City's accounts being wrong over 9 years. And that is because the Premier League essentially is querying all of Man City's sponsorships that have happened during that time and essentially saying they're not legitimate or of fair value. So you can break that down. That's about 50 of the charges. The second is specifically about Roberto Mancini and the fact that they're saying that he was receiving side contracts by people in the UAE and thus was hidden and not on the Man City books. The third set of charges are around Man City complying with licensing requirements to play in Europe. So truthfully, I haven't dug too much deep, but essentially think of that as your books have to be legitimate in order for you all to be able to play in European competitions, Champions League, Europa League, whatever they may be in. And the final one, actually, what's interesting, it takes it up to this current season, is actually that they actually didn't comply with the Premier League. There's rumors of holding documents, et cetera, and purposely obstructing the investigations. As of today, Man City, of course, as we all expected, came out and denied all of these accusations. Now, I think the really interesting part of all this that's going on is within the Premier League handbook. The handbook actually hands the power over what will be 3 people that will oversee the disciplinary matter. And the punishments that are potential are actually, it's very interesting because it's not like there's a chart that says, okay, Man City broke X law, X thing, that can actually say what the specific punishment could be. So this is 100% unprecedented territory. We don't exactly know what can come of this or how severe the punishment will be. There's rumors of a series of financial fines, point deductions, relegation, even the potential for stripping of trophies, which I'm not specifically for. But all of this situation has never been seen before in world football. And I think truthfully has the ability to sort of change how we view FIFA fair play moving forward. So extremely curious to get your guys' thoughts on how you think this plays out, what you may see or what you may want to see if all these things are true, what punishments you guys want to see City get. So super curious as to what your guys' thoughts are here.
Can I
What a
start?
great way to start.
Yeah, man.
On Mondays. I loved waking up to this information. It put a smile to my face.
That was, dude, it was crazy. I remember Dobes texting us this morning and I was driving to work and I looked at it and I was like, holy dude. Here's my honest thought. I do not want them to get stripped of their titles. I don't want that.
Does anyone in here think they should? I feel like we could all probably agree.
I think it depends if they're found guilty of 105 charges, of every single breach. I think it has to be something drastic. Extremely drastic. Yeah. Now, do I think that they'll be charged with all 105? No, they're going to hire the best lawyers in the fucking world.
Yeah. And sorry to cut in there, Butch. I feel like we all are in agreement on I think stripping of the titles would be a little.
It would. None of us are even City fans, and we would not want FIFA to take away that Aguero moment. That's one of the coolest moments in the history of the game that we all got to live through.
Yeah. That's why I don't think it's
not for a United fan. Fuck off with the Aguero moment.
For that.
Aguero about to become Aguero. No, bro. Fuck that moment.
Yeah, bro. I think it already happened, though. You know what I mean? The things that I think stripping the titles is dumb simply because you can't go back and change those events. You can't change how everyone in that park was feeling about it. So the only thing that stripping titles for me does is somewhat discredit, a fan. The guys in the locker room won it. They got their pay. Everyone got the accolades. Nothing else has changed.
Still got paid.
The club received every benefit from that season that they could have possibly benefited from. So, that I think that's a weird thing to be United, you guys are champions in 2018 or whatever. Congrats.
I think the bigger effect is you look at the Stoke City who got beat in an FA Cup final, who got beaten in an FA Cup final by City. And then you look at Sunderland, same exact situation. So it's more not for the bigger clubs, but look at your Sunderlands or your Stokes who never really get to those games that may suck for them a little bit.
Could have been a club changing game.
Yeah, ever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's no doubt there's no question they better get a huge point deduction, bro.
Yeah.
It better
relegation.
The thing, so relegate for me, Relegation, I feel like, has to be the play here. And I'm in agreement, by the way, of like stripping the titles just doesn't really do it for me. And the only reason I say that is like it would be weird to me. Like, and Butch, to be honest with you, it surprises me a little bit that to hear you say that you don't want their titles stripped, because in the last 8 years, there probably hasn't been a
Liverpool have
club
had a
more
treble.
affected.
Yeah.
Like, there probably hasn't been a club more affected by City's dominance than Liverpool. Liverpool, like,
I think
has
it's like
set
3
numerous
titles for Liverpool and 3 for United is what it would be.
Right. But
Yeah.
like, it wouldn't make sense though to say City is stripped of it and now United wins or now Liverpool wins, because it's not really, you can't do that. But like,
No.
if that is the big play from, you know, UEFA and from the Premier League, we're going to strip you of your titles, they're getting away with murder, bro. Like, they're getting
Yeah.
away with no consequences, because like, just like you said, Hoof, like, the celebration's already happened, the parade has already happened, even though no
Yeah.
one showed up for it. Like, it's already been the case. And so for that to be the big like consequence would just be so disheartening. But the thing that we also didn't bring up, Dobes, in like the setting of the stage of this, is that 2 years ago they were found guilty of financial fair play stuff, and they were supposed to serve
That was
a
UEFA.
yeah, like a 2-year sitting out of European competition, and they got around it. They appealed it and won it, and they've obviously been in the Champions League and every European league over the last 2 years. So
Yeah.
it's deep, and for me, it's relegation. I want them relegated.
I think that this whole City thing, and I think what we're going to see is it's so much bigger, and obviously like so much of like the people that are saying of like the strip the titles and stuff like that comes of jealousy of City's last decade. Like, let's be real. They've been dominant this entire last decade. I think the underlying effect of what this is going to be is there's going to have to be a change in FIFA fair play and how it's managed. Because what I mean by that is, and by no means am I saying that Bully has done anything wrong, but by structuring the contracts over years, there's no smaller clubs that will ever be able to keep up with that. And so FIFA fair play is going to have to adjust and change sort of the way that the outlook is. Because right now, like, I was reading an interesting article today that was talking about like the relationship between the Premier League and Man City. If Man City, like, and that relationship is just like broken after this, like, City's just that Super League will become a real thing. Like, it will become a real thing, because these clubs have that money. They're going to go somewhere where they're not regulated to what they can do. They can just spend as much money as they want, buy the best players as they want. Madrid will join, Barca will join, whoever they can get will join. And it's going to completely change the structure of where football is today. So I think what's going to happen is, if there's stuff that is like actually concrete, the FA is going to come down and try to make an example of City. Like, they're going to try to make an example of City to try to prevent this from happening in the future. And I think FIFA fair play is going to eventually have to switch so that like United can't, like, let's be real, 600 million in two transfer windows, no matter how the contracts are
Crazy.
broken up, is fucking stupid. Like, no club, no smaller club will ever be able to keep up with that. And I think that's where FIFA fair play and the FA are going to have to come in and figure that out somehow.
100p.
What happens with City? Do you think there's a fire sale in the summer? Do you think that
Could be.
I mean, we look at that star-studded lineup, and it's fun to like sit here and wonder like what happens with Grealish, what happens with Alvarez, what happens with Haaland. Like, if relegation happens,
You're too far ahead.
Yeah,
you think so? You think that's too
it's
much to
so
think about?
early.
This
I
isn't
think
going to
City
happen
has-
overnight.
I think City has so much money, and I think when me and Doge were talking about this before, the 105 is the stat that like is staggering. Like, the fact that they have 105 cases of where you've done it, so like clearly they have to be charged for one or a couple of those. But money talks at the end of the day. They're going to get out of a lot of this. Like, regardless of how much we want to sit here and hope that FIFA does the right thing, FIFA is the most corrupt organization in the entire world. So
it's the FA, it's not FIFA.
Oh, it's not? Okay, so I didn't even know that.
The FA came out. What's interesting is City can like argue against what they're being charged of in court, but they don't actually have the ability to appeal it. So like the FA came out and strictly said that like City doesn't have the ability to like appeal any of these sanctions. So they can just argue them, and they can either be thrown out or be charged for them, but they don't have the ability to appeal them. So they will actually have to defend themselves like for all of these. And I think
And-
that's
Wow.
the interesting point.
And that's a tough thing with what Hoove was saying about looking like trying to figure out what's going to happen to them at the end of this is that it is too early because like Nick said, 105 cases. And then like you said, Dobes, they get to argue every single one of those and you know that they're going to drag that out for as long as they possibly can.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
I don't know how long, we've never really seen a financial fair play case with this many individual cases within it. So like this could take a whole year for them to
I think
actually.
that's what's interesting. It's like and this is, none of us are lawyers. So like, we're
Right.
just 6 dudes that like chatting footy. So like, it'll be interesting to see like when the case does come down, like if it's ended in the middle of next season, like do you just deduct points then, or like do they finish out the season and then like the next
that's
season
where
they're,
it's
That
they're
would be
not
interesting.
wild to
That'd
they're
be
not
so
in the
interesting.
Prem. Like it's such
Yeah.
unprecedented for, that's what's interesting is like I was saying, there's no handbook for like if they're charged with all these, it says this is what you do. It's
Mhm.
up to this committee of people to decide like how strong it is and what they want to do with them.
How
and we won't,
how much of an example they want to make.
yeah, how much
Yeah.
of an example they want to make a city.
Dude,
And I-
it's still the FA, but Nick, you're right. Like at the end of the day, I don't think anyone in football's we're not talking about the straightest edge folks here. So
I'm thinking like my sports brain, my majors coming in, and like just the money if City were to get relegated, that a lot of, not even just them as a club, they would lose money, but just like the Premier League itself, I think would lose money if
Viewership,
City was
yeah.
in it. And I
Well,
I don't think they
well,
would allow it.
That is an interesting thought. And, again, I don't know everything about it, but I think Tifo came out with an article like a couple of, months ago about like Manchester City's revenue and like the fallacy of their revenue. And you mentioned like their sponsors not being legit. Like they've literally created like
I've seen their
ghost
Twitter
companies.
accounts. Yeah.
Like ghost companies that are like the main sponsors of Manchester City with like 3 Twitter followers or 2 Instagram followers because they're not real. Like that's the kind of stuff that is crazy, bro. Like it's
Well, and
crazy.
there-
So like losing the viewership, it's like, well, I don't know how many Manchester City fans there are around
It's
the
not
world.
Manchester City fans though, but us watching
just
City
fans of the
commercial
Prem.
on the
It's
weekend.
commercializing. Yeah. Well, they've come
It's
out
another
that, like,
big club in the Prem that
Sure.
brings
come-
excitement and another more set of players
City-
into it.
City has come out and said that they have more commercial revenue than Real Madrid, than
Yeah.
Barcelona, than Man United. Like City has been a football club for longer than a decade, but like they've been a football club for essentially a decade. Like since 2009 when they were bought. The interesting piece of this is like when the Prem essentially has like a say over who can buy these clubs. There's like a process they go through. Like did the Prem not like kind of know like who they were getting in business to a little bit? Like that's the thing that I think is interesting. Like do you know that these aren't great people that
Yeah,
may
they
do
should
some-
freeze. They
that
should
do some
freeze all of
sketchy
their
things.
assets.
I was actually
They can
wondering if
sell
you were
the
going to
club.
bring that up, Nick.
Oh, I was
wondering
thinking
if you
about
were
it the whole
thinking about
time.
that.
I was
Like
thinking about it
they
the
get their
whole time.
Abramovich treatment where they do have to freeze assets and sell the club. I think
he
that would
was
be
involved in
fascinating.
a
This-
potential world war.
Oh,
but-
yeah, and he never was accused or never. We're not getting into it. I don't even want to talk about that.
But
Just
and
still
it's like
defending.
what precedent can you set? Like if these guys are here and they've been they've been good for the league in terms of like, all things commercial, and then you're just like, well, okay, well it worked for them. Let's do it for Newcastle. Like QPR got bought out a while ago, and that plan failed. But it's just gonna keep happening. Like there's just
and the prices are going to keep going up. Chelsea,
Yeah.
like Doe's
Yeah.
brought it. We spent crazy amounts of money, and it's just going to continue to grow. Like you think
Not
we're
to
going to be
be.
the last people?
That's
to spend
that's
money?
why I think FIFA Fair Play has to step in and
Yeah.
set some precedent.
It's
I-
way
I also-
way
Because
too
it-
unregulated.
Because if
agree
not, there's
with
going to be
you.
6 big clubs and there's going to be nobody else, and that's not what
Yeah.
football's about.
I agree with you, but also at the same time, there's like this part of me that like, if they're not paying the players, that just means they get to keep it, and then they just get it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I almost want them to be paying the players a shit ton of money because they're the people who deserve it, and not so much our owners or anyone else.
I
Well,
think
it's
I know
way
it goes
deeper
hand in
than any
hand.
of that.
It was like a
Yeah.
devil's advocate. I was just trying to say another.
I
side.
think
Who,
the
if you brought
interesting
up-
point. Go ahead. I was just
Who,
gonna
if
say
you
what
brought
happened,
up
happens to
like an
Pep.
interesting point of like, I think it was in like the actual group chat where you just said it sucks for the fans of like, of City because like there's nothing they can do about it. This doesn't involve the fans at all. And
Mhm.
they have never had a sign off on any of the
They
deals that
picked,
they
they
get to
picked
do.
the club.
Well, yeah, but
So
like,
we're just they're born into it.
yeah,
I know,
it's just
I know.
like what
I
it
was-
is. But
I
like,
was just-
yeah, and it is sad for like, all of our clubs over the last couple of years have gone through like turbulent times and have gone through things, and it's just unfortunate whenever that happens. But this is wild. This is unprecedented. Like we've said a couple times, it's a weird situation.
I
think
think Pep's gone, Dobes.
I was going to say, before we move on, I
that
wanted to get you
statement-
guys' opinion on Pep. So this is what Pep said back in May 22. He said,
Yeah.
when they were accused of something, I asked them, tell me about that. They explained and I believe them. I said to them, if you lie to me the day after I'm not here, I'll be out and I will not be your friend anymore.
Wow.
I think the timing is great for him too.
Well,
To just
it's
be like-
just, it's so interesting because like, if you're Pep and you make that statement, like Pep seems like that guy who's a man of his word, but like when's the timing?
Yeah.
Like, do you wait for a full decision? Do you wait to hear they're guilty of a few things and you leave? Like, I think that's the interesting whole piece of this. If you're Pep, like, what do you do?
I think we're going to see Pep's character. Like, I think this is going to be a true test of Pep's character of like, is he okay with going back on his word? Because like, as it's going to come out, he's going to be on the hot seat of whether he's going to stay or not. And I think we're going to see how he responds.
He'll leave. If
think
they're
he
guilty
will
of
too.
anything, he'll leave.
Yeah,
I think
think-
he's that
Where does he
kinda-
go?
I think he takes a year off. He did it in between like Bayern and City and then Barcelona and Bayern. Like
I was
he
going to
does
say,
that
he's not one of those
historically.
guys that's just going to join like a sack.
genuinely think he
club
goes
to, like,
international.
make someone better. Like, I think he would go somewhere huge.
International and then back to Barcelona after that, maybe. Like he's
US
still
men's
so
national
young,
team,
quite
baby.
honestly. That's what I'm talking about. Well, as the city story continues to develop and as we hear more, we'll keep the listeners involved in this one. Before we move to our favorite segment of Factor Cap, we do just quickly want to shout out Jesse Marsh, relieved of his duties of Leeds United this morning for all of us in the United States. And it's a sad day for a U.S. men's national team and a USA fan, as he was just so fun to watch over the last year, and it was such a big part of bringing Tyler to that club, Brendan to that club, and now Weston to that club. Leeds USA still lives on, but it is one USA man short for the time being.
Their interim coach is still American.
Sick. Leeds USA, boys. Leeds USA. So we'll see where he goes next. There's a lot of shouts in the group messages. Do we want him for the men's national team? Do we not? But we'll get to that another day. So Butchie, we're gonna end with our favorite segment at the Mecca of Banter podcast, which is our fact or cap.
Before we start, Nick, I just want to say I love you and nothing's personal.
You're a dick. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
All right. So 600 million spent in the last 2 transfer windows.
Wrong. It's 5.
Huh?
It's okay. Everyone inflates the number. Keep going.
Dobes, what's the number?
It's like 532.
It doesn't matter if it's
I
over
know.
300. It's
I know.
insane.
I know.
I heard it was
It's all just a tie
737
full of-
million.
That's what I'm saying. Everyone increases the number. That's all I was trying to
They
say.
spent $1 billion.
All right. I'm going to actually have Hoove answer this one first. Nick, you're going to go last.
All right.
I'm going to make you sit there and wait. Okay.
Okay.
So $532 million spent in 2 windows.
I
Lots
don't
of
know if
players
that's
in.
exact. Hold on.
Yeah, look at this.
Yeah, I'm looking
dude.
up. Keep going.
Chelsea fan.
So my factor cap is this. I actually have 2 of them in one. It's your lucky day. Factor cap, Chelsea does not make top 6 this season. And factor cap, Graham Potter is no longer the manager come August. We're going to start with who?
611 million, by the way.
Yeah, fact. Yeah, they're not going to get top 6. No, I think I'm pretty comfortable in agreeing with that. The Potter one's the tough one. I think caveat to, I think he's going to be the manager. I think he stays. I think they keep him. I think they made a rash decision in cutting Tuchel so quickly, and you can't screw that up now with the Ferrari that you just parked in the garage. So let the guy learn how to drive it. I think he stays. But I think if Chelsea finished below like 12th or something, sometimes you just got to cut ties. So
Yeah.
I think he's there. I think they stay above top half. But
No. Yeah. Valid reasoning. Valid reasoning. Let's take it over to Winks. Winks, factor cap.
Yeah, I agree. I agree on the first one. I think that they'll finish below 6th. Still getting back from injuries throughout the rest of this season, and though all those new signings and players coming back from injury needing time to build chem together, I think is going to be a big piece. But it could also be a coin flip, outside of top 4 for sure. But as far as the deal with Graham Potter goes, I agree with you, Who, but for the sake of being different, I'm going to say no because of their history simply with how long they keep managers around, especially if they're doing poorly. So I'm going to say he's gone by August.
All right. Let's take it to Dobes. Dobes, what's your thought? Factor cap.
I don't know, bro. This is tough because I'm sitting here looking at the table and like I think 600 million and no Champions League. Like your manager's gone. Like
That's
I
my
just
thought.
think any amount of money. Like I'm looking here at Transfer Market, it says 611. 611. If you spend 600, you spend 611 million, and like realistically, they're let's see, 39 points, or excuse me, 40 points is what Newcastle are on. Like they're 10 points behind Newcastle. Top 6 is definitely doable in my opinion for them. Like top 6 is definitely doable depending on. It just depends if they can reach form. And like I'm not comfortable at this moment saying that they can, but like I almost feel like if Chelsea finished 6th and get bumped from the Champions League, like it could be fact that they finished in the top 6, but Potter can still not retain his job. Like I think it just genuinely like I don't. That sounds like a weird situation, but at the same time, like with the amount of money that they've spent, like you bring in Enzo Fernandez at the end of the window, like there's really no excuse for Potter like I said this, I texted you guys this as we were arguing in the Mecca. Like not having your system figured out and getting players to play the cohesive, keep the ball way that Potter likes takes time. Your players going out and playing with heart, playing with passion, and playing like they want to be there is completely separate. You can have one without the other and still win games and grind out results. So if we don't see a change in the mentality, like I think that Potter's gone. I don't really know what to say about the 6th. I could see them finishing 6th. I don't think they're going to finish above Spurs. I don't think they're going to finish above Newcastle, but I think they could jump Fulham, Brentford, and Brighton. So that's kind of a non-answer, but
Yeah. No, it's well stated though. Henry, before we go to Nick, Henry, what are your thoughts?
Going double fact. I don't think they have what it takes to finish top 6. And I also think that Potter's gone for all of the reasons that Lucas and Dobes just mentioned. It's abysmal, bro. Even if you spend a fraction of 600, if you can't get the players to believe in something or to buy into something after several months, it's a problem. And I'll say it. If you're allowing that kind of lackluster performance in your manager and in your teams, you're not a serious club. And if Chelsea want to be a serious club and they want to invest in their team by spending 600 million in 2 windows, they got to have some standards for their manager, and they're not a serious club if they keep them.
Let me chip in. Hen, I'm with you. Does Conte take this side from where they're at right now with the signings they've made and finish top 6?
instantly.
Chelsea, you mean?
Yes.
Instantly.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
I agree.
Instantly,
Yeah.
because I think the difference is that we can see what like Potter did at Brighton, but he wasn't dealing with egos. He wasn't dealing with price tags. He wasn't dealing with Mudryk for whatever he cost. He wasn't dealing with Enzo for whatever he cost. Like he wasn't dealing with the price tags and also the spotlight that the English media shines on Chelsea versus shines on Brighton. And I think that's where it's like, you can say he played a beautiful style at Brighton. Yeah, he did. We all loved it. But like replicating that at Chelsea with stars takes a serious manager.
Yeah, it honestly reminds me of David Moyes when he went to United. Like he was a great manager for West Ham.
Shout. That's a great
when he
shout.
took over for Fergie, and not implying that anyone at Chelsea has ever been Fergie, but like he took over and made signings, and sure, he wasn't completely backed by the board, certainly like frickin' Potter has, but he underperformed, and it wasn't like they finished terribly. He underperformed and they sacked him in the summer. It's what a real club does. It's what a big club does, and I just don't think that Chelsea can allow themselves to do it.
He put Boley to sleep at the last game. Ooh.
Seriously.
Well, these are some good points, but now we're going to take it to the Chelsea fans. So, Hafey, take us away, man. What's factor cap, man?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you doing this factor cap, because I did want to give a shout out. We are doing Mecca Moments with the Chelsea boys, Jake Wine and Joey B. That's going to come out on Wednesday. So we kind of go into in depth on the entire transfer window that we did have. So great shout to end it with on this. I think you guys all have great points. It's a lot. Henry saying that we're not a big club, I think, is fucking laughable.
He didn't say that
this year, so
you're
he didn't
a
say
mid-table
that.
club. You're a mid-table club. It's a mid-table for you coming out Wednesday.
But Potter keeping his job, I'm not so sure, because when Lampard was our manager, I didn't think he was going to get sacked, and he was sacked. When Tuchel was our manager, I didn't think he was going to get sacked, and he was sacked. So I really don't know. Chelsea could sack him tomorrow, and I would be like, who would know? So as far as that, do I think he deserves time? Absolutely. I think he deserves another. I think this season he's kind of picking up pieces. We have still a lot of injured players, and he's trying to bring in players for a lot of money immediately into our starting lineups and mesh with a team and play at a system that he wants. So I think he deserves a little bit of time with those guys. As far as top six is where I said we would probably finish to my mom literally a couple of days ago. So that was a good spot to say what we're at. I agree with Dobes. I think we could possibly overtake Fulham, Brentford, and Brighton, but Spurs, I think, was another side that I thought going in that we could possibly pass, but after their performance against City, I'm not sure if they keep winning points and not dropping. I mean, it's going to be hard to catch. So I'll have to say cap. I do think we probably finish sixth. And I'll say cap as well, because I'm hoping Graham Potter is still our coach, and I hope that next season's better for him.
Can I ask you one question as a follow-up?
Yeah.
How this is a legitimate question, because I'm super fucking sick of hearing it. How long are you comfortable with making the excuse of like settling into a team and there's been injuries?
Because we're still injured. This is the first game we have
they
our
won a
injuries
championship.
back.
They won a championship.
First game we have some of our injuries back. We still have injuries on key positions, and we're like, I don't understand how you don't see that. It's like almost embarrassing that you don't like have empathy for the fact that we have 10 like injuries on our. It's just, it blows my mind.
Do you want me to make my case for not having empathy?
Absolutely.
$611 million spent in 2 transfer windows. And then also, bro, you're like, I want to remind you that every year, including now, you're like trying to convince us that like you're a top 4, top 6, like you're a big club in England. And then you're like making excuses for multiple months about like, look at the lineup that you all have that you're fielding every single week, and you can't get it done. And you're still making excuses. How long has Potter been there?
Graham Potter did better with less.
Dude, and like the thing is that like Tuchel came in, what did he do? He immediately turned it around and won a Champions League. That's what a real strong manager does. And like Graham Potter just isn't that. So how long are you going to like keep making excuses for it?
And when we have our injuries not having 10 plus more people on it,
Bro, but worse managers have done.
I just answered you,
less.
Henry. What are you confused about? We have a crazy injury list of key players, and we are trying to sign players. That's why we spent $600 million, and we're bringing in these new guys fresh off other squads, and you're expecting them to put in crazy performances against Fulham, who's a decent side that you said over and over again, and now you're just thinking we're a shit club because we were 0-0 and we spent $600 million. That's where
I mean I expected you to turn up a better performance against the club that you had no scaries about at all.
And I owned up to being wrong on that.
So you're telling me
did it in 2 training sessions.
Yeah, and you're telling me
Everton have looked better than Chelsea have looked in months.
The moment that Chelsea's injury list is under 10, you're going to stop making the excuse.
Absolutely. Potter will not. I won't have an excuse for Potter anymore.
Listeners of the pod, we will hold Nick Haflinger accountable
He
on
had like
February
he
6th.
had 9 days off to get a team together that could perform. 9. Like 9. I would kill for Ten Hag to have 9 days off.
And also, for what it's worth, I love Potter. I think he's brilliant. I think he's a phenomenal manager. It is not working out at Chelsea. And he's got to go, bro. He's got to go.
You just dogged him, and now you think he's great.
Okay,
Dude, I think he's a
one
great
last
manager.
question.
It's not working out.
One last question for you, Nick, before Henry closes this out. Okay, Nick said that they are releasing the Chelsea episode in a few days' time. So if Graham Pooter gets the axe, who are you bringing in? Zinedine Zidane?
Well,
That
I
would
don't
be
know
so
why we're
fun.
even asking this question. 'Cause I have
Tuchel's
no
the
idea.
perfect guy for the job.
I was going to say the same thing, bro. Tuchel's perfect.
But like really, like if Bowley, like I think that this is like gonna test like Todd Bowley, because like we just don't know what kind of guy he is yet. We know he's
What's this dude made of?
Yeah, we don't-
He's made of money, that's for
I
sure.
was gonna say he's just gonna write a check.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
That's
like
what
in
he's made
terms
of.
of
He's made
like
of money.
what I meant is like how long he's willing to like go with Potter versus like spend money.
Got
Like
you.
he's
Got
the
you.
guy
Can
making
I-
the
to be
decisions
fair, that's
now. Like
That's a great point. Like with the new owner, I'm interested to see how big of a leash the club gives our managers, because of the past, it's not long.
Can
if
I just
Bowley
say,
keeps
can I
showing
give
up
a
to
can I give
Stamford
a
Bridge and taking
terrible
naps? It won't be long.
Yeah, I want to give a terrible hypothetical, a terrible one for all of us, except for Nick. They sack Potter. They say, "Hey, Pep, heard the situation at City isn't going so well. You want to come over to Chelsea?" And Chelsea acquires Pep Guardiola. That would be the worst thing in the history of ever.
That would suck for all
That
of us.
Chelsea team immediately becomes insane.
So good. So good. Well,
Hey,
fellas,
Mason Mount goes back to Derby County.
he sure does. He says, "You are not fit to wear the shirt." Fellas, thank you for the conversation tonight. Listeners, that was tonight's episode of the Mecca of Banter podcast, the podcast where the 6 of us chat shit with a little bit of footy in there as well. Fellas, good job tonight. I want to remind the listeners, follow us on all of our social medias. We got the TikTok going, we got Twitter, we got the Instagram. Leave us a comment on what you want to hear from us next, and if you have any topics that you want to hear, let us know. So, fellas, good job tonight. Talk soon.
Yeah, that's
Cheers, fellas.
Peace, man.